Barack Obama and every Democrat out there to know.
Howdy y'all, I'm Brylan. In this video, I want to show you how absolutely desperate the left has gotten. They just dragged out Obama to guilt trip black people for not wanting to vote for commie law. I'm going to show you the absolutely disgusting race baiting here that Obama was so known for back in 2008 and 2012 and to this day. And then I'm going to show you some reactions to what Obama had to say that, well, will blow your mind. Hey, real quick, would you hit that thumbs up button? You know when you like this video to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. You know, when Barack was seeking re-election back in 2012, he got 33 less electoral votes and almost 4 million less total votes than he got in 2008. Yet he obviously went on to win. How he did this was because he held on to over 90% of the black vote. And not only that, but he held on to over 70% of the Hispanic and Asian vote and 55% of the female vote. And yet even more than that, he held on to over 60% of the vote of people who made less than $30,000 a year. And 57% of the vote of people that made between $30,000 and $50,000 a year. Yet each and every single one of these groups is worse off today than they were 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Commie law doesn't have near the percentage of votes that Obama had back in 2012 from any of these groups, and they know that. So watch this video of Obama here trying desperately to regain some of that momentum that he had back in 2008 and 2012.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. Who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
He could have just put it the way Biden put it back in 2020.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
This is the typical leftist move, is to divide people by race. You know, the party of equity, equality, inclusion, all are welcome, are the most divisive. They sow the most discord amongst Americans. They want to divide us by the way we look, and we must refuse that. We are all made in the image of God, with the right to think and speak freely outside of their radical left destructive agenda that they are trying to demoralize you with, because that's all the left has. They must try to shame you and demoralize you into voting for them. If you're a black man and you have concerns about the economy, about your livelihood, supporting your family, the wide open border allowing millions upon millions of illegals to come in and, well, replace you and everything else that's crushing Americans right now under the Biden-Harris regime. They claim that you're a racist if you care about the well-being of your family or how you're going to provide for the needs of your home. And the reason they do this is to demoralize you into voting for a platform that's going to take advantage of your demoralization in order to have more control over you. It doesn't matter how much Obama comes out and tries to make it sound like Kamala is one of you. She went to your college. She grew up with the same struggles, all the things. She knows nothing about what you go through on a day-to-day basis. And even Obama knows this. That's why he's struggling to even say what he's saying. You can tell that he's desperately trying to think of the words to make what he's meaning sound meaningful. But it's just not there. But I want you to see some of these reactions. I could sit here for days and show you reactions from people who are, they don't vote based on their skin color. They don't follow along with the machine that tells them that they can only think and act one way.
This message is for President Obama. First and foremost, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. Number one, I ain't going to vote for Kamala Harris. I think that she's going to make a bad president. She's a bad vice president. Everything she does, she tries to politicize it. And she hasn't shown the fact that she wants to put America first ever. So 100%. I'm not voting for that individual. Yep. Secondly, I think that it's really sad that you would come out against black men and actually degrade them because they're not picking the person that you want them to vote for. All right. And the last thing that I'm going to say is the moment that I became a Republican and a conservative, that is when I got the most hate from the opposite party.
Wow.
All right.
Yep.
Being that I'm a conservative, being that I'm a Republican, I've always been accepted. For the little bit of time that I may have been liberal, I never heard anything from the Republicans. They never came out and called me slanderous things. They never came out and called me racist things. The only time that I ever started hearing things about my skin color and about, racism or whatever was when I became a Republican. And that was from Democrats that were saying that. So no, I'm not going to be voting for who you want me to vote for.
This man has a mind of his own. And as an American, he is deciding what is best for his country, for the well-being of his livelihood, and the well-being of fellow Americans. This fellow American also made an excellent point.
Barack. As a native of Chicago, that watched your policies not do a single thing for black people. Not anything for crime, not anything for a better way of living. It is insulting that you decided to get up here and pander us as black men for not voting for Kamala Harris. You are only voting for Kamala yourself because you have no choice.
Exactly.
We both know that deep down inside, you wanted the open convention, but the optics didn't look good. We also both know that there were way better candidates that you guys could have went with for president, but you guys didn't.
Straight up.
And so
that's
now
right, yeah.
they bring you out, the big guns, because they need you to come up here and clean up this mess. Because you know what? You are a well-spoken man. Because I can tell you right now that your nominee is not. I can tell you that your nominee doesn't answer questions. Your nominee stutters all the time, and she spits out word salads. Mm-hmm. And you expect for us to vote for her. I'm black. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
I vote for what's going to allow for my way of living to change. I vote so that everyone can have a chance and continue to be a free thinker and not have censorship.
He is 100% right here. And man, I respect this man for saying it like it is and not being afraid of the radical left machine that tells him that he's only allowed to think and act one way. In fact, I just want to point out that Kamala's whole slogan is a new way forward. She wants you to think that she hasn't been the vice president for the last 4 years, when she has been a part of every single decision that has been made that affects you. Inflation up 20%? Kamala. Mortgage rates up 133%? Kamala. Destroying the energy sector and gas prices up 50%? Kamala. Yet it's all a new way forward, right? Well, here she was saying that, no, it's not such a new way forward. She wouldn't change a thing about the destruction that she's caused.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Wow. There you go. In fact, once again, I thought Vance made a fantastic point about commie law, saying that she wouldn't change a thing that Biden and her have done over the last 4 years.
But she walks into The View, and you would think that would be an interview, and you know what they asked her? They gave her a softball, an easy question. Really propaganda. They said, can you name a single thing where you disagree with Joe Biden? Now, let's back up for a second, because remember, Kamala Harris's entire campaign is to pretend that she hasn't been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. She stands up before crowds and she'll say, on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis. On day one, we're going to secure the border. And you listen to her for 5 minutes and you think, Kamala, are you going to vote for Donald Trump? Because you've been vice president for 1,400 days. You haven't done anything.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, they ask her one thing you would do differently from Joe Biden. You know what she says? I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Now, in her defense, I'm not sure she could think of anything off the top of her head about Joe Biden's policies or anything else. But think about this. For the last 2 months, Kamala Harris has been telling the American people that she's going to do things differently than Joe Biden, where she increased the cost of groceries by 25%. The average Michigan family is paying $1,000 more per month. That's $12,000 per year to afford today what they could have afforded when Donald Trump was president. The border is wide open thanks to our illustrious border czar, Kamala Harris, and her entire campaign has been to pretend that she doesn't bear any responsibility for the policies, even though she's the sitting vice president.
Now, a lot of people will say, but Sleepy Joe is the president. She's just the vice president. Say she wasn't a part of all of these decisions that have destroyed America. If she were truly the leader that she claims she's going to be on day one, then why isn't she going to Sleepy Joe today and sticking up for the American people because of the destruction that he's caused? Here's another good reaction by Jason Whitlock here.
And so all the polling right now is showing like incredible momentum towards Donald Trump. And not just with white people, not just with suburban white women, black people. And this is what's really disconcerting. People that have run around, oh, I hate Trump and Trump derangement syndrome and Trump. The polling, the internal polling, the polling that Kamala Harris and these guys are looking at every day is telling them like, man, we're losing black people. We're losing black women even. We've certainly lost black men. Things have gotten so bad that they had to dust off Barack Obama and he had to go give a private tongue lashing to black men about how they're mistreating Kamala Harris.
Whitlock made a good point, and so does this woman.
I want Barack Obama and every Democrat out there to know, you do not own black people. We are not slaves. Our chains are gone. We do not owe you anything, and we don't have to give you an account for how we choose to vote. It's as if he's telling these people, you all just need to shut up and get in line. Do what I tell you to do. How dare you try to think for yourself? How dare you try to reason for yourself? How dare you choose to vote for somebody else who I say you don't have the right to vote for? How dare he try to shame people and tell people that they're misogynists if they don't vote for Kamala Harris? And you say that Donald Trump is the one who's denigrating black people. You are the one, President Obama, who is denigrating these people because you think that they don't have the right to think for themselves. And instead of respecting their right to choose who they want to vote for, you want to shame them into voting for the Democratic candidate because they don't have the right, in your view, to vote for somebody unless you say that they have the right to vote for that person.
Americans are waking up to the destruction of the radical left and their agenda to try to destroy the very foundation of America and the freedoms we have. Listen, God establishes leaders and he takes leaders away. God uses leaders to punish nations, and he uses them to bless nations as well. Look at what Proverbs 29, verse 2 says here. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. You know, we have been giving ourselves over to wickedness for so long now. And we have seen all around us, we see it every day. You can't walk outside your house without hearing the groaning of people, the absolute mayhem of people, of people in our society trying in every which way to satisfy their lust for pleasure in whatever way they can, but it will never be enough. We've given ourselves over to every depraved social agenda. We're accepting things that aren't biologically true. We're saying that there's no such thing as truth, the truthy truth. And we're saying that truth can just be made up and that it's individual until those truths clash, and then whichever one is more depraved wins, I guess. However, I'm not one of those people that thinks that America is beyond saving. I think God can have mercy on America. Let's pray that God has mercy on America and that He would allow righteousness to increase so that we may rejoice in Him. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community. I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And please hit that thumbs up button. You know when you like this video to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video.